Welcome to my series, my lock-in series, Apps by December. Am I gonna be able to fulfill that? I don't know. We will see. Come find out with me. But I'm just, I'm going to be giving you like my game plan of what I intend to do to be able to accomplish these goals that I have, which I had spoke about in the previous video of just like introducing like what I want to do during this lock-in season. My main thing is seeing apps by December, reduce my coffee, sugar, and alcohol intake. And I feel like, especially removing those three things, because I feel like those have been the main things that have been like sneaking in there that have stopped me. Because everything else, for the most part, I think I have a pretty good handle on. But I love coffee, but sometimes I do, use those creamers that are full with sugar, the different sneaky ways that we eat sugar and all those stuff. And I know the information, but now I really want to rewire myself to like just crave other alternative things when I have the craving for something sweet, maybe opt for like a fruit that's high in fiber, or coffee. Maybe I move my body and drink water with electrolytes instead of going straight for the coffee, because that's not good for our nervous system. Even with alcohol, it's just learning to, just go with the vibe without needing the external sources. But yeah, today's lesson is going to be all about, today's video is going to be, just breaking down like just a few things that I intend on doing. And if this is like something that you're also trying to accomplish, building your body during this last 3 months of the season. And I feel like it's probably one of the hardest times to really lock in on your diet because of the holidays and all those special festivities. But I also believe, yes, you're gonna face more temptations, but if you're able to, use the processes and steps that I am going to be teaching, especially with learning to, reassociate, rewire some of our reward systems when it comes to food. I feel like this is also the perfect time to work on those cravings, especially when they're set in front of you, because real inner work does not happen in isolation. Like, yes, you want to create your environment for success, but you're always going to go out there in the world and when you are presented with all the things that now your new standards say no to, how do how are you going to respond? You cannot control every part of your environment, the external in the world. So now the real inner work is to be able to not be phased when you're brought some of these temptations that you're trying to avoid. And so so for me, the main thing I'm going to be hyper focusing on is just eating whole foods. None of that like pre-cooked stuff at the grocery stores. Like, just take the time to cook your meal prep them. So I'm going to even give you guys like how I cook some of these meals, but a lot of the things that the main categories of things that I'm going to be focusing on. Like, if you can structure your meals around these, you can recreate different meals out of them. And that's how I'm able to still eat my African diet, because I know if I have these main like 4 categories of food in my plate, and I know they are whole foods, they're not processed, then I know for a fact that I'm heading like the right direction. I got my notes here. And so And so without due, why do I keep saying that? Anyways, we're gonna start with protein. Protein, 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 protein. My life changed dramatically. Like my fitness life changed dramatically when I saw a huge shift when I started eating more protein. And not just any protein, but like great quality protein. And I never understood the hype around protein until, yeah, like it's magical, like something so simple. Like if you center your, at least for me and a lot of people, I mean, we see it online. If you prioritize your meal, like your main bulk of the main thing on your plate is protein with each meal that you eat, not only you're gonna feel fuller, but it's also just great for like helping you build muscle, and the more muscle mass you build, the easier it is for you to for the fat to melt off. And also I think it's done wonders for my skin too. Like I just my ever since I started eating more protein, like I've noticed like maybe like the collagen in my skin like just being more youthful. I mean, yes, I am young, but I noticed just how vibrant it has been ever since I started really prioritizing making sure that I'm eating a majority of my meal. A bulk of that is protein, and usually the advice is like 1 gram per 1 pound of body weight. Like I'm 160, so I'm personally going to aim to eat around like anywhere from 120 to 160. You know, there are gonna be days where I just don't feel like it, so that my minimum will be that 120, and then like my maximum will be around 160 on a really good day. And there's ways to maximize these things, and I'm going to show you my little tricks of how I maximize these. And this is really where, you know, abs are made in the kitchen, not even the gym. And I know for a fact, like when I went through a season of my life where I was really, really consistent, like it was easier for me to see that. But I haven't been doing the best, which is why I want to come back and lock in these last 3 months and just hyper fixate on that. And when I talk about protein, I'm not talking about the protein powders, the protein bars. Those are highly processed most of the time, and has preservatives. They sneaking sugar in there, which is why it's so sweet. And sugar is your enemy when you're trying to lose weight or trying to gain abs like I am. And so I'm going to be focusing on like buying my meat, preferably, you know, um, preferably at like farmers market, but we know how that can be expensive, but we will make do. Like one thing I try not to be cheap on is the quality of my food. So, or even I'm debating going to like a farm where they like you can like pay and they like chop up like a goat for you, a whole goat for you. They cut it for you and you put in your freezer, and you get to just have access to like fresh, you know, goat meat in your fridge, and you just keep cooking it. And so like, yeah, stuff like goat meat, lamb, ground beef, organic, of course, and like chicken, you want to leave the skin on. And eggs is probably like the #1 best source of protein, because your body absorbs the protein in there the most compared to other sources of protein. And also the reason protein powders are also not as efficient is because a lot of it, because it's processed, your body doesn't really even process it to use it up as protein. So, but when you're eating actual meat from like a live animal, from like, yeah, you know, your body is able to, you know, synthesize a lot more of those proteins. And one of that is like, and eggs is at the top of that list. So you really want to get the bang of your buck. Yeah, definitely buy tons of eggs, preferably pasteurized eggs. because that just tend to have, yeah, your body just enjoys that more. And also when your body is getting enough of like nutrient dense food, it feels safe to release the stored fat in your body. Sometimes our body tends to keep extra body weight because it's in scarcity. It thinks that the food you're eating is not nutrient, it has no nutritional value. So it's going to keep storing it, waiting for you to finally put some nutrient dense food in it, so that now that it knows that, oh, like, oh, you're always eating, there's more food to come that is always healthy and nutritious. So we feel safe to now release this body fat that we were storing for emergencies, because it thought that you weren't, the foods you were eating that wasn't given any a lot of nutrients in there. It thought that, you know, you're starving. Not literally, you're starving nutritional wise, but yeah. So that's why it's important to stick to whole foods as much as possible. You know, do the best that you can. You know, there are gonna be moments where you don't always have that. And so one thing that I would suggest is, when you are buying like pre-made food, like learning how to read the ingredients list, which is stuff that when I go shopping, and I'll take you guys and I'll show you, like, when I do go shopping, this is what I look for if I'm gonna buy like canned or pre-cooked stuff, because sometimes you just don't have the time to always make stuff from scratch. And so yeah, so that's what I'm gonna be doing for protein. And and then you want to also include fats to help you lose weight. And so cook using avocado oil, or just eat avocados. I love avocados, and I only cook with avocado oil. That's the best oil to cook in, and not even olive oil. Olive oil is best in salad, but avocado oil can retain its nutrients at even a high heat. So if you want to like fry your chicken or like cook some of your meals, like, avocado oil is very healthy. It's great for your brain too. Fats for your brain. Like, so I don't, you know, it's a win-win. And it does not have any taste like olive oil, because I know some people complain that they don't want to, like, you know, switch like your granola oil for like stuff like that. But like, granola oil is not the healthiest form of oil to be using. And I know avocado oil is not the cheapest, but but our bodies is a temple, and so we are gonna treat it as that. So just invest in the avocado oil. Trust me, you're not gonna regret it. And you're not even gonna notice the difference. I don't, because it's very neutral. Or you can use coconut oil. I personally don't like cooking with coconut oil. But if that's your jam, go ahead. Also great fats to eat in. And ghee. I actually like ghee. I like I like using ghee sometimes, or butter. And nuts, some nuts and seeds, preferably unsalted nuts. If you are gonna salt it, I would suggest you salt it yourself. And just get a bunch of, you know, we all know what vegetables are, fiber-rich vegetables. Some of your favorite vegetables that you can cook to put on the side with a lot of your meals. And what else? And with the carbs, plantains, my favorite. Whoever invented plantains, they thought of me, because there's like a million different ways to make plantains, and I love most of those ways. And so plantains will always be a staple in my diet. So plantains, sweet potatoes, plain potatoes, oats, preferably steel cut, white rice, and yams. So like all those things for me, and I'm going to generate a list and probably link it down there, so can just have that basic structure, and then you can now use that to like make different types of meals. Like, and me being like African, I will probably, let's say I make rice and stew, and tomatoes is a vegetable, and the seasonings I use like ginger, garlic, parsley, celery to season it, and salt, and then I just put a bunch of chicken in there, or goat, whatever protein I want. I just put a lot of it in there, and then I can make like broccoli on the side to like eat it with it, and then or spinach, whatever. And then that's like a whole meal right there. You eat your carbs in moderation, you put way more protein on your plate, and you know, your veggie on the side. And like for me, it's like I don't necessarily have to, if you tell me this is the structure of how to eat, I just have to now figure out ways to fit it into like some of the dishes I already naturally like eating, but just making sure when I'm making those dishes that I grew up with, just make sure that I'm making it in the healthiest form, and not adding in, you know, things that I know are not so good for me in there. So it's like, I feel like the that's like the game changer for me, because I've tried everything. Trust me, when this comes to like learning how to eat right long term, this has been the one to stick for me, because I already know how to make my African foods, like, or even like moi moi. That's like beans, black eyed peas, or you can use like lentils, which already has a lot of protein in it, and you can mix it with like sardine, and then the seasoning in there, red bell peppers, with crayfish, and you know, and so like, and then you have egg in there. It's like, whoa, that alone, I can, like a bowl of like moi moi alone, you can already eat so much, like consume so much protein. And our goal is to maximize protein in every meal. And the older you get, making sure you're eating protein becomes even more crucial, especially as a woman, because after 30 we tend to lose a lot more muscle mass. And so when you get to your later ages, is not you because we lose a lot of muscle mass, now you start worrying about being able to walk when you're like your 60s or 70s, or potentially falling and having to have hip surgery. Like, the goal here is like, yes, build your dream body, but also just incorporating sometimes just these little, just adding these little things to your already daily habits can have tremendous benefits long term over time. So like a lot of us will eat like a whole bunch of rice or a big bundle of fufu, and with a little bit of the vegetable soup with a little bit of meat. But it's like, I'm telling you to reverse all of that. Eat a little bit of fufu, eat a big plate of meat. We're in America. You can afford, there's a lot of meat here. And if you're not in America, I beg, figure it out. I'm sorry, I don't know what to tell you, but figure out how to make sure you have enough protein in your plate, because it's literally life-saving. And I cannot speak enough, and how it just makes the process so much easier. And when I start my day with even eating a whole bunch of eggs, like I feel so full the rest of the day that I feel less of the need to snack. And I love snacking. I'm a snacker. So I'm also going to plan for that too. Like, I'm going to meal prep my breakfast, because sometimes even waking up to boiled eggs is beyond me. So know yourself. If you're not the type of person that can be cooking every single morning, then I would suggest that you, meal prep your breakfast too. Meal prep your snacks. I'm going to be making probably like making some plantains or popcorn, you know, make my own like sea salt popcorn. And also that's the thing too. The main things that I would suggest you should drink is water. You can always add electrolytes, which is like you can add like Himalayan salt or sea salt, unprocessed. Like you will see it on the thing. Not all salts are bad. Like the iodized or the regular table salts, those salts are not so good for you because those salts are processed, and it's the additives in it that gives you the high blood pressure, not the salt itself. You actually need salt. Part of the minerals that you need in your body, especially when you want to stay hydrated, is salt, potassium, and all this stuff. Like you need, you know, when you even buy those electrolyte packs, it has a mixture of those like salt and potassium in there. And so if you, for me, I'm not gonna put water in my salt. That's absurd. But what I do is I just make sure I put enough salt in my meals. I don't use Maggi because that's processed. But I figure out a way to make Maggi. I found out online, and I'm gonna be trying that with you all. I haven't tried it yet, but I saw it. So, and I like Maggi in my eggs. That's the one. If I'm gonna make my eggs Cameroonian style, Maggi needs to be in there. That's the one place I'm sorry I have not yet been able to give up. But everything else I cook, and people usually tell me my foods are delicious. They don't even realize. I don't even bother telling them, but it's because it's a placebo. I think it's like a placebo thing where it's like you feel like you have to have Maggi in your food, but it's like actually a lot of dishes, if you just put enough salt in there, but it has to be the right type of salt. It needs to be unprocessed sea salt or unprocessed Himalayan salt. And I usually get mine at Costco. Those types of salt. So for me, my logic is if I'm eating and there's always salt in my food, and then when I drink water, it's already there. You know, so I'm properly hydrating. So there are people who I know who drink like a gallon of water per day, and with no type of thinking that you're doing your body a service, and there's no type of electrolytes to replenish, you're actually just gonna pee out all the salt in your body, end up doing the opposite of what you're trying to do. So you need both water and that salt. And so, and if you're going to, and no drinks, please, like if you're going to drink something, just make your own smoothie. Don't juice your fruits because you just removing the fiber, and the fiber is what is the nutritious part. Like if you're just juicing it and taking just the juice from the fruit, there's no fiber to help like digest, or your body process that sugar better. So it's almost kind of like you're just drinking straight up sugar. It's still better than straight up sugar, but why would you take out the best part of the fruit, which is in like the skin? So if you're going to, that's why I suggest smoothie. You might as well just cut up the apples, blah, 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 whatever you need to do. Just make sure the skin is still on there. And yeah, the oranges, just blend it and make juice with that. And I love smoothies. So like that's something that I personally try to implement. And also, yeah, I think I talked about quality over quantity. And so sometimes I know with people, especially if you're trying to like maximize gains in this season, it's so easy to just like want to compromise and, you know, use like some of the processed sources of protein to like really help. Like granted, if I'm gonna eat pasta, because there are moments where yes, I just want pasta and I know it's not healthy for me, I might as well buy the pasta that has protein in it. That makes sense, but that's not an everyday thing for me. That's like a once in a while thing. And I'm consciously choosing that, not that like is something that I can't live without. Like I don't really eat bread like that. So that's not really a problem for me. But if you're gonna eat bread, you might as well buy protein bread. So that makes sense to maximize, but also those are not the best sources of protein. So like I'll keep reiterating, your best sources of protein is from animal products. And if you're vegan, I don't know what to tell you. There's plenty of other YouTube videos to teach about that, people who are vegan. Um, yeah, but I've actually done the vegan diet before, and personally for me, it did not work. But I do know I did it for like 9 months, and I was just, yeah, and let's just say it didn't work for me. But the best I felt was when I maximize and prioritize my protein intake. And so in like this summer, um I had spent like the last like 2 years really trying to do gains, and one of the things that I did was trying to, because it was hard for me to eat all that protein, so I would drink a lot of protein powder. But yes, I'm gaining some muscle mass and I'm building mass in my glutes, but it was hard for me to be able to like build like abs because I was eating protein sources that weren't the healthiest. So, and that's why I'm learning now that like quality, not just for like the aesthetics, but also for longevity wise, like we want to not just get immediate results, but we also want results that will keep benefiting us till the day we die when we're old. And so I've noticed better results. Like this summer, I just completely stopped drinking protein powder, and I didn't really go to the gym like that. I mainly walked around like this summer, partly because I didn't have a car, and secondly, I was just drawn to nature. So I spent a lot of my days, every single day, I went on at least a 2 to 3 hour walk. And, I wasn't intentionally trying to lose weight, but that's what happened. I ended up losing a good amount of weight. I would say about like 20 pounds, 15, 20 pounds. And that was just from walking and eating more protein. I went to a lot of family barbecues, and the only thing that you catch on my plate was protein. And I know some people like to go completely carnivore. I'm not completely carnivore. Like, I still like variety in my food. I cannot just eat meat. Shout out to those people. I still like my vegetable stews, the different types of different type of ways we eat vegetables. I naturally just enjoy it. But I would say like really, really like prioritizing that protein, that's what like just naturally melted the weight off. And so now we can talk even more about movement. When it comes to movement, you don't even have to overcomplicate it. Like I told you this summer, just walking alone, I would say on average I did anywhere from 8 to 15,000 steps depending. And so 8,000 steps to like 15, and that's why I would say it would be like 2 to 3 hour. And so maybe like 2 hours in the morning and 2 hours in like the evening, or sometimes I just skip the evenings. And I mainly did that because I just had a lot that my brain needed to process, and walking helped. So walking to me is like a 3-in-1, like 3-in-1, shooting 3 birds with one stone. You get to work on your physical health. You get to be surrounded by like nature, which is just being in proximity to nature is just great for your mental and health. And also like it just helped me feel even more connected to God, and just processing as I walk, just processing a lot. And also I just read a lot of books on these walks. Like I listened to a lot of audios or podcasts. So it can be very productive too, or just let your mind be at peace and just let the thoughts, run through. So I did that. And so If you're not yet at the place where you can like do like lifting yet, I would say start with walking to lose some of that weight, and then build your way now to lifting. Now lifting is still important. Even if I still love to walk, I've always enjoyed walking. But one thing I would say is resistance training is very important. Not only does it help sculpt your body how you want, but also again with the longevity, especially as women, the older we get, it gets even more crucial. How else are you gonna build muscle without resistance training? And with that muscle is what is gonna help you continue to be able to walk, fall down, and not break anything when you're older. But also just the more muscle mass you build in your body, your ability, your in what's it called? I'm having a brain freeze moment right now. But your metabolism speeds up. Muscle speeds up your metabolism. And so someone who has been working out for years, even if they take a break, let's say due to injury, or like you're pregnant and they can't really do too much because your pregnancy is preventing them, or even after you get pregnant, when you want to get back into shape, it's a lot easier because your body has the memory, has the muscle mass to be able to process that fat a lot faster versus someone who doesn't really have any muscle mass. So like it helps you maintain your shape. It because like sometimes like I used to travel a lot, and so maybe I would go like for like 2 months without working out because of just how tight my traveling schedule was. But I wouldn't like immediately just bloat, like not bloat, like just gain it all back, because my all the works I've done in the year before now is really working for me. So it compounds over time. And so if you just spend the rest of your life like throwing in lifting maybe 2 to 3 times a week, I started once a week and built it up to 3 times a week, right? That's been the most I've done ever since I started lifting. And so in the summer, I mainly walk. So I didn't, now I want to build back more muscle mass, which is why I'm back at the gym. And so my workout splits. Mondays, I'm going to do dancing because I still love to have variety in my movement. I want to have fun. Tuesdays, I'm going to do upper body. Wednesday, leg day. Thursday, full body workout. Friday, leg day. Saturday, dancing. Sunday, a walk. And then every day I do intend on stretching. The older I get, oh baby, especially when you're in the gym, stretching becomes even more important. And so I'm gonna be combining all of that with like the diet that I plan on having. And for me, this is just lifestyle. I don't really like saying the word diet because it feels temporary. And also one thing I forgot to add, like the reason when people do those like those quick yo-yo diets where it's like you juice fast or like drink tea, and within 1 week you gain it all back, that's because you lost mainly water weight, and also there's just no muscle mass to like to help you retain that. And so building muscles in your body becomes really, really crucial in just maintaining that. And there's different ways you can do that, but definitely resistance training helps. And also just finding different forms. Move every day. It doesn't have to be excessive. I don't like excessive going hard every day. That's just not how my body works. Some people can do that, but I cannot. So that's why I've mixed in like some dancing in there, and I do yoga mainly too for like both my physical and like mental clarity. And so find different ways that you enjoy to move, and find friends, a community to help you with all of that. And I hope like this guide that I've told you you took some notes and maybe, it helps you. But that's what I'm going to be doing. And I'm going to record in the process, and we shall see if this really works, or if am I being consistent, and what I can do to help with consistency. We're gonna also really focus on like the nervous system regulation, because that's where you're able to lock in some of these habits long term, and make it a part of who you are. And yeah. Oh, and one thing that I forgot to mention, I personally will not be calorie counting. I've never calorie counted, and I'm not gonna start. I do believe it helps some people to help them stay on track. And if you want to learn how to calorie count, there's a lot of other videos online, resources online to learn that. But personally, for me, I don't think that calorie counting is makes sense, because to me, calorie counting infers that your body processes every calorie you take in the same way. And like 100 calories of vegetables versus 100 calories of like a Rice Krispie, they're not the same. Your body processes differently. And so to me, when you know you're eating nutrient dense food, calorie counting to me becomes almost negligible. And so I just don't think that it makes sense. So like, I have notes here. But like, I even put here that like, if your body is dysregulated, inflamed, or under stress, digestion and nutrition absorption is going to be compromised. And so instead of like, focus on where you get the most gains. And I feel like calorie counting is taking away energy from things that you could be doing, which is like sleep, making sure you sleep, making sure you're cooking, making sure you're eating the right food. One thing if you don't know yet how much, I can now eyeball the amount of protein I have, because I used to count the grams of protein. So now it's easy for me to estimate. But if you're starting out, I will say measure out your proteins to make sure that if you cannot do the 1 pound per body pound, I would suggest that Dr. Gabrielle Union, Lyon, not Union. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, who is the doctor for like muscle, and she studies a lot on like aging women, especially, and muscles and proteins and all those stuff. She suggests that at least 30 grams of protein in every meal, so you can weigh those. That makes sense to me to count. But sitting there, and it's a lot easier, way easier. And I mainly eat African food, so what do I look like trying to figure out how much calories is in my egusi soup? Yeah, no. So it's just not cost efficient for my time. And so, I like to figure out like the small things that I can change, but get the biggest value from it immediately and long term. And so like, just focusing on just basic things that you wouldn't think that this would be monumental, but ends up being monumental, will help you. And a lot of times people think you get like big results from doing big things. But there's one thing I've learned from my journey in this is the best results have come from doing the small little things every single day, and let that build up. Like sometimes when the fast results come too quickly, it goes away just as quickly. But when you can really create your foundation, your structure, that nothing can shake it, and as you keep going, it only keeps getting stronger, and you just keep building and sinking deeper roots on the ground, and boom, boom, you're there, and you don't even have to think about it more. It comes easy to you. This is who you are. Like working out, like you don't have to, you most of the days you wake up, you're ready to work out. You stop craving all the stuff that are not meant for you because you figure out the foods that you already naturally like. You've experimented. Take your time to experiment. If you can't cook, this is your excuse to learn how to cook. You're a human being, and we need to eat to survive. If you cannot cook, you have all the resources online to teach you, and I'm going to be one of those resources. So stay tuned on this lock-in season, and let's build our dream body to get there. Bye bye.